Good evening and welcome to the Booker T Theater. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones. Please, no recording or flash photography. The show will run approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes with no intermission. Thank you and enjoy the show.
I do not feel obliged to believe that the same God who has endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended us to forego their use. Galileo. I am against religion because it teaches us to be satisfied with not understanding the world.
Richard Dahl.
There is still no official response to the Prime Minister's ultimatum that all troops be immediately withdrawn from Poland. The German ministry continues to assert Chancellor Hitler's claim that the Polish state has ignored all offers of peaceful settlement and refuses to respect the frontiers of their island. Prime Minister Chamberlain is expected to address the nation shortly. Regular programming will be interrupted to bring you this broadcast. We have just received confirmation.
Joffy! Joffy! Do you hear someone coming? What dog? Come here! Run to Papa! Boy, just sit there.
Dr. Freud. I'm Professor Lewis.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
I am giving you up for law, so we can speak here in this way.
I'm terribly sorry to be so late.
If I wasn't 83, I would say it doesn't matter.
The rail shuttles are useless with the evacuations. All the trains are leaving London, not coming here. I saw coach after coach filled with children they're taking to the countryside. They're emptying the hospitals as well.
And the prisons.
Really?
Many times there is threat of air attack. Thousands of prisoners near the end of their sentences are released.
You've been listening to the radio.
Well, I find it convenient to be warned before being bold. And Chamberlain is due to make an announcement. I must tell you that my doctor will be coming by shortly, so our visit must be brief.
Thank you.
My wife and housekeeper are out looking for any canned goods that they can find. We must prepare for the release.
Yes, well, perhaps, given the circumstances, we should simply postpone.
Until when, Professor? You camped your tomorrow's eye.
What kind of dog is he?
A child. He stays with me during all my sessions. He is my emotional monitor. If a patient is called, Jockey stretches out my feet. A patient is agitated. Stands by my side and never takes his eyes off me.
And what should I make of him running away at the sight of me?
He too resisted the punctuality.
What a marvelous study.
Thank you. My daughter and I decorated the replica of my office in Vienna.
You have a beautiful view.
Yes, the garden. When I looked out my window at home, I saw a Nazi in my books. Please, sit. Not there, here.
Thank you.
Since we have so little time, which probably comes from the reason why I wrote.
One of my books.
You've written more than one.
I believe it's Pilgrim's Regrets that's offended you.
Offended.
Yes, my satirizing you with the Sigismundi character. His bombastic self-importance is throwing the pilgrim to the giant because he can't stand to be contradicted. My describing you as a vain, ignorant old man was a bit excessive. But I believe that when we put our worldviews to the public, we must expect the public to react.
Yes, they should.
I am sorry if you took it as a personal attack, but I cannot apologize for taking issue with your worldview when it completely contradicts my own.
Which is?
That there is a God. That a man doesn't have to be an imbecile in order to believe in him. And we feeble-minded who do are not, as you say, suffering from a pathetic obsessional neurosis.
I didn't read the book.
You didn't.
No. Dr. Harris of Jeff Ross, a dear friend of King, shares my interest in returning to this literature. When your homage to Pilgrim's Progress appeared, he gave me a full report.
And I savaged you.
My dear Professor, I've been savaged all my life. Do not be disappointed. Since your creation of a cartoonish character named Sigismunda did not leave me bedridden. But I was so offended by the
I was curious to meet you.
even though you dismiss my work.
Well, not all of it, certainly. Your writings are always thought-provoking. When I was a student in university, we devoured your books to find our latest perversions.
I hope you find them.
We did, and competed to invent worse.
You enjoy using humor.
I debate my students daily. I find humor tips the scale.
Are you thinking, perhaps unconsciously, that debate is the reason you are here?
I see it doesn't matter I didn't choose the couch. Since you invited me, perhaps you should tell me why.
Though I didn't read Pilgrim's Progress, I did enjoy your essay on Paradise Lost. Quite well written, some number of very original observations. Paradise Lost was my favorite book. Years ago, when I was separated from my future wife, it gave me great comfort.
You were comforted by a clash between God and Satan.
Oh, I didn't say it was sorry that was so long. Wow! Milton, you know, Satan is the best tea.
No, thank you.
Not good, it's probably cold like a water.
No.
We both agree that Satan is a brilliant creation. All that is wrong with the world can be blamed on him as easily as his lovely as the Jews. Now, he is a master. He is. he is.
Can I get you something?
I have oral cancer. It forced me to have my upper jaw and palate removed. What looks to you as or like ill-fitting dentures and prosthesis. It seals off the move of my mouth from that nasal cavity. There's always abrasion, and the smell is clearly hideous.
I don't smell it.
More being kind. Hope he didn't run from you. He ran from me, the smell of decaying flesh.
It must be terribly painful.
Oh, more so when I talk. What? As you can see, my not talking is unlikely. Oh. Children should be speaking. It's almost 11. Yes, children should be speaking. Do you mind?
Of course not.
Not yet. My friend Watson knows Hollywood, Professor Tolkien.
Those friends, yes.
And he mentioned inklings.
Ah. That's our literary group in Oxford. Writers, for the most part. We discuss each other's work.
Fantasies.
Often, yes.
I spent my life studying fantasies. It's time I have it more than reality. What I have learned is that you have a superior intelligence and a tact for analytical reasoning. Watson said that at one point you shared my conjecture that the existence of creator was practically hypnotized until recently.
That's right.
So then, like St. Paul, you are the victim of either a conversion experience or a hallucinatory psychosis.
brother's motorbike on the way to the zoo. Not quite as dramatic.
Oh, mental thought.
When I set out, I did not believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. When I arrived, I did. That's simple.
Things are only simple when you choose not to accept them.
I examine my beliefs daily. And I must say, I have never met a non-believer who has spent so much effort to debunking the existence of God. If I were a psychoanalyst, I'd say these endless protests intrigue me.
If you were a psychoanalyst, you would wonder why someone with a puddle inside God rather than mountains and motorbike.
The disappointing answer is I can't drive.
Well, since that is a skill I've seen bears demonstrate at the circus, I have to assume that you could. What for some reason you chose not to? Never mind. You are correct in my preoccupation with religion. Did you read my last book?
I tried, but my bookseller was sold out. Though I've heard you've made some inflammatory claims.
Suppositions?
That Moses was not a Jew, but an Egyptian. That God did not choose the chosen people, Moses did. And after he led the Jews to the promised land, they killed him for it.
Not for that, either for his imperious dogma or his insistence that all men be circumcised.
I wager the second.
My conjecture was that by killing Moses, the Israelites were forced to bury their guilt under the camouflage of religiosity, even to this day.
No wonder your book is selling so well. Jews must be standing in line in order to tear it to pieces.
And me as well, but the Jews will have to wait their turn behind my greatest enemy, the Roman Catholic Church.
Doctor, I'll be the first to admit that the greatest problem with Christianity is Christians. But you can't reduce a faith to an institution.
Perhaps I like institutions, religious or secular. They are ruled by autocrats who think that their view of reality is superior to all that they command. I speak the truth, no matter who it is.
Do you enjoy it? That outrage?
I enjoy provoking discussions such as ours.
Why have one at all if you're satisfied in your disbelief? You've insisted all your life that the very concept of God is ludicrous. But perhaps with your illness,
My illness is correct. I have no fear of death, no patient for propaganda.
then why am I here?
For one reason, I want to know why someone of your intellect, someone who wants to share my convictions, can suddenly abandon truth and embrace an insidious lie.
What if it isn't a lie? Have you thought about how terrifying it might be to realize you are wrong?
No more terrifying than it would be for you, Professor. Oh, hello. What? Yes, thank you. Chamberlain.
Up to the very last, it would have been quite possible to have arranged a peaceful and honorable settlement between Germany and Poland. But Hitler would not have it. His action shows convincingly that there is no chance of expecting that this man will ever give up his practice of using force against his will. He can only be stopped by force. Now, may God bless you all, and may He defend the right. For it is evil things that we shall be fighting against. Brute force, bad faith, injustice, oppression, and persecution. Against them, I am certain that the right will prevail. That is the end of the Prime Minister's statement.
And so it begins.
Again,
I thank your God who blesses me with counsel. I brutalizing Austria.
How long ago did you leave?
A year and 4 months. Some brown shirts broke down our door to arrest me and take me in for questioning. I insisted that I was too sick and she would go back next to I refused the course. They took her instead. 12 hours she was gone. 12 hours. I was sure I would never see her again. But when she was released, finally, I bribed everyone necessary to leave the country immediately. It took near disaster to see Hitler as a monster in peace.
History is filled with monsters. Yet, somehow we survive.
He welcomes the next monster. Man's physical self evolves, as my personal saint, Charles Darwin, has proven. But not man's character. We cannot survive without any certain necessaries there. Hitler wisely chose a familiar target. The Jews are subhuman, or they are maggots that have never contributed to civilization. Our claims are ridiculous. People should be outraged, but they cheer him instead.
Not every.
Not yet. It learns from history. The warrior's greatest ally is God, and Hitler said that Russians are Jews is the will of the Lord. He raises an army that worships him. But
There's another way of looking at it. Hitler's very evil. It may become an instrument for good.
how so?
By his despicable actions, he reinforces the necessity for the opposite. The good man serves God as his loving son. The evil man serves him as his tool.
So while Hitler hammers, God waits to see who survives the blows.
We have to begin by accepting that there is a moral law
I
everywhere.
don't accept the moral law. Really, our people attempt to control chaos.
Moral codes have existed throughout time. Name me one civilization that's admired theft or cowardice. Mankind has never rewarded selfishness.
Selfishness rewards itself.
So the Nazis are correct in their actions.
Well, of course not.
So there is a morality you're comparing them to. A man can't call a line crooked unless he knows what a straight line is.
Wow, geometric morality.
Moral conscience is something we're born with. It grows as we do. When I was younger, I thought of right and wrong as much as a baboon thinks of Beethoven.
And his conscience is God-given.
Yes,
Ha! I am laughing at you. You might insist that God did an adequate job with the sunset, but as far as conscience, he failed completely. What do you call conscience? Our behaviors indoctrinated into children by their parents. They become the crippling inhibitions that they struggle with all their lives.
until you rescue them with psychoanalysis. Relieve them of their repressions, previously known as right and wrong. Shame, for example, a thing of the past.
You think shame is a good thing?
I'd love to see more of it. Admitting to bad behavior does not excuse it.
I wish that years ago I would have listened to my patient's sins and told them to fall to their knees and beg absolution. But psychoanalysis does not profess the arrogance of religion. Thank God.
What did you say?
About habits. Tried to break it all my life. Thank God. God help us, God's grace. I was raised by a devout Roman Catholic man. He dragged me to church every day, every Sunday. And a Virginia flag making the sign of the cross, all the obsessional neuroses. She read stories from the New Testament to me. My father was an Orthodox Jew, read the Old Testament aloud. There was no escape.
None here either. My grandfather was the vicar of our local church. He preached sermons that went on for so long because he kept stopping to weep. My brother and I had to punch each other in order to stop from laughing.
And your father, he was also religious.
He'd say he was. But what I think he really worshipped was frugality. Raising young gentlemen as cheaply as possible. I see where you're leading, Doctor, so you won't be surprised. I disliked him intensely. He was a selfish, angry man. Especially after my mother died.
What, how old were you?
9. I think it was impossible for him to have the kind of relationship that would have given us the consolation we needed.
And your feelings on his death?
Now I see him as a damaged man. Then I only saw him as a tyrant.
Yet, you deny that this desire to seek God is really a search for an ideal father figure.
There's no avoiding this, is there? Yes, I do deny it. For as long as I can remember, I wished there were not a God at all. I didn't want another father. It was his faith that drove me away from religion. I was confirmed in total disbelief because I feared my father as much as I detested him.
Normal father-son dynamic, childish adoration turns to recognition of their weaknesses and sends the desire to dismiss them.
I agree.
Good, you learned something from my books.
I assumed that, understanding this, you had a warm relationship with your own father.
Oh, it was at best a bitter disappointment.
Would you like a seat?
My father's greatest influence was in showing me who not to be. When I was a child, we were walking down the street when a man knocked his hat off. He shouted at my father, "Jew, get off the sidewalk!" He did. He picked up his hat from the mud. He said nothing, he did nothing. At that moment, no, even today, I couldn't decide which of them I detested more.
The same anger you have towards a God who does nothing. The wish that God doesn't exist can be just as powerful as the belief he does. I say that the choice not to believe in him is stronger evidence for his existence, since you have to know what you're denying.
I deny his existence of all sense of therefore things in his.
Do you experience some passionate desire they do? One is not born with desire unless satisfaction for it exists.
Not true.
It is.
Example.
A baby feels hunger. Well, there is such a thing as food. A duckling wants to swim. Water exists for it to do it. So if I find within myself a desire for which no experience in this world can satisfy, I must conclude I was made for another world.
You have just exchanged fact for fairy tales. Our deepest cravings are never satisfied, identified. Ah. In German we call it Sehnsucht, a longing. For years I felt this desire to walk with my father. I knew when I was young. He would hold my hand and I would pull away from him and run from him as fast as I could deep into the trees.
What are you running to?
Either to be alone or to escape my father. I only know because desire was overwhelming.
I call that desire joy.
Joy.
I can think of no better word for it. I experienced it for myself for the first time, and it sort of words as well.
Yes.
I wasn't yet 6. My brother Warren brought a biscuit box into our nursery he had decorated with twigs, moss, tiny stones, flowers. A toy forest. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Still is. From that moment, it created a yearning within me I had never felt before.
To live in a tiny Eden, you see, having God.
God never entered my mind.
Yet you deny that your desire to seek God. Yet you deny that this joy is really an inherent desire for creation.
No, I accept that this is my desire. To have a creator, to believe in the creator. Although it took much more than that biscuit box.
You were led to God to Christ by a biscuit tea.
Like I said, it took much more than that. I was the most reluctant convert in all of England. There was nothing I hated more than being told what to do. That was the wonderful attraction of atheism. It satisfied my desire to be left alone. The God of the Bible is a bullying busybody.
Exactly.
Until, quite by accident, I read a book by G.K. Chesterton, The Everlasting Man. Have you read him?
Chesterton has spoken very critically of me, therefore his intellect is clearly suspect.
I'm sure. But when I was in hospital during the war, Chesterton's book was the only one around.
You were in the war.
Yes, Somerset Light Infantry.
Why were you in the hospital?
Nothing very serious.
The British Army gives holidays.
Compared to the front, the hospital was a holiday. But not Chesterton's book. Not only was he a good writer, his arguments had an irritating logic to them.
Logic.
He starts with a story. A young boy living on a farm sets out on a quest to find the burial mound of the legendary giant. He sets out, climbs a mountain, looks back at his farm below. What he sees from that distance is that his house is built on land that bears the impressions of an enormous figure. His house was built on top of the giant's gravesite, yet he was too close to recognize it. Chesterton says that there are two ways to know Christendom: to live within it, or to be far enough away to see it for what it truly is.
A boy and a giant. Simplistic storytelling, like all theology.
It's a metaphor, a foundation where he builds his argument based on logical, rational, historical criteria.
Nonsense. God cannot be proven.
Exactly what I thought, which allowed me to take Chesterton out of my mind for years, until two very different conversations forced me to reconsider. One with Tolkien, a devout believer. The other with T.J. Welton, a rabid atheist. I had him round for a drink one evening. Sally, do you have a cellar? Where's the nearest shelter?
The church basement. Look there, you can see it.
Let's go. Come on. Come on. Let's go. silent. I was back. The smell of explosives. Bodies. All around. Men. Trying to crawl like half-crushed beetles. Bombs like hailstones. My friend is exploding 10 feet in front of me. I never felt the shrapnel. Just him. Pieces of it. Hitting my chest. My face.
But how badly were you hurt?
Shell fragments. My left leg, my wrist. Some in my chest. One piece still there. Too close to my heart to remove. War to end all wars. There'll never be such a thing.
I think some days that we go off at your space and you must commend, you must promise never to put yourself in danger on my behalf.
I was reacting on instincts. I didn't have time to think. At times like these, we say anything on instincts.
Like turn out the lights.
Pardon?
Turning out the lights only works when it is dark outside.
But perhaps I should have said, close your eyes, the Germans can't see you.
The children that come out of our clouds these dust when I say exchange them because of different colors. My neighbor's daughter calls them his masters.
Boys like them too. Have you seen them do this? They have contests.
Then they would have been in awe of Joseph Pujol.
Who's that?
Pujol called himself La Domaine, the great Fatiste.
You can't be serious.
Completely! I saw him in Paris as a Moulin Rouge. Pujol farted the sounds of cannon fire and thunderstorms. He played O Sole Mio through a tube in his hands. And then he had to puff a cigarette. For his encore, he blew out a candle from the other side of the stage. Oh, the audience gave him a standing ovation, except the ones who fainted from laughing.
I can imagine.
This is how we feel.
Excuse me.
The events of humor. Our brains cannot hold on to horror. It would immobilize us. We must move on. Random thought, the greatest hope.
Your relief theory.
Ah, you know it.
I read your book on wit. We English take our humor very seriously.
English humor is still a foreign language.
I agree. You made some good points, no doubt. But your examples of humor,
Yes.
they were a bit clinical. Examples pinned down like dead frogs and then dissected.
Are you saying my methodology was flawed?
No. I'm saying your jokes weren't funny.
Ah, this is creatures. Classic examples.
Wasn't this one? Two Jews meet in a train station. Where are you going? Asked the first. To Krakow, says the second. Now I know you're alive, says the first. When you say you're going to Krakow, you really want me to believe you're going to Lemberg. That's the joke.
Yes, an example of skeptical witticism.
That's as funny as a hanging.
What is funny is that the second Jew is called a liar because he says he's going to crack out is real gold. The first Jew who thinks he's being modest cannot accept it. It seems another frog is being dissected. Hello. Yes, Maddox. How late? Can't it be sooner? Quite severe. Yes, well, I guess I'll have to wait until then. I have no other choice. Thank you. Seems my position is delayed. I should make more tea.
Don't bother, really.
No tea? Isn't that heresy for English?
I can be deported. No, thank you, though. The sirens have taken away my appetite.
You were speaking of your inkling and your atheist.
Tolkien, well, yes. E.J. Wells is a well-respected professor of classical studies. He's also a complete cynic and the most bitter man I've ever known.
So far, I like you.
I had him round for a drink one evening, and the topic of the Gospels came up. I nearly fell out of my chair when this man told me of the strong evidence to support the historical authenticity of the New Testament. It looks as though it really happened, he said.
How much were you drinking?
Not enough. After I told him how shocked I was to hear him say this, he couldn't have been more embarrassed and eager to leave. Afterwards, I couldn't stop thinking about it. If the most militant atheist I knew believed the Gospels to be true, was there no escape?
Can't be saying the Gospels because they are myths and legends.
Ah, but does that make them lies? A few weeks later, Tolkien opened my eyes to a different perspective.
This man who writes fantasies.
Yes. We took a stroll one evening after dinner. We were on Absence Walls, a path that runs through campus underneath magnificent beech trees. We're back in the forest, I see.
Seems the couch, beautiful.
We were discussing myths. I told him I enjoyed them artistically, but that I basically regarded them as fiction, as lies as you do. Tolkien stopped me. You're wrong, he said. They're far from lies. They're man's way of expressing truths that otherwise would go unspoken. They hint at the life God intended for us. He told me to look closely at my reaction to them. He said, when you read myths about gods coming to earth and sacrificing themselves, their stories move you as long as you read them anywhere but the Bible. The story of Christ, he said, is the greatest myth at the heart of human history. He also said that pagan myths were born from God expressing himself through the poem, but that the myth of Christ was God expressing himself through himself. The difference is Christ walked among us here on earth. His dying transformed myth into truth and transforms the lives of all who believe in him. And that's your choice, he said, to believe or disbelieve.
You shouted, I believe, and birds in the trees cried, hallelujah.
Not exactly. That moment I chose to examine the evidence. That night I went home and began to reread the New Testament critically. And as a literary historian, I'm perfectly convinced that whatever the Gospels are, they are not myths. Most of the life of Jesus is left completely unknown to us, which writers building a legend would not allow to happen.
Christ by bad storytelling.
The existence of Christ is not in question, only who he was. He was written about by his contemporaries, Roman and Jewish historians. Even H.G. Wells, whose skepticism rivaled my own, said, "Here was a man." This part of the story could not have been invented.
That Christ was a man, I don't argue. The same as Mohammed or Buddha, who were also deluded themselves into thinking they were more than that.
But Christ isn't the same. If you went up to Buddha and asked, "Are you the son of Rama?" you'd have said you're in a veil of illusion. If you went up to Muhammad and asked, "Are you Allah?" he would have called you daft and cut your head off. Only Christ made the appalling claim to be the Messiah. He even suggested he could forgive sins. How ridiculous is that?
Well, I'm convinced that Christ was a lunatic.
That was my first option.
It's more than an option, it's a likelihood. Why should I take Christ's claim to be God any more seriously since the presentations are too great to be Christ?
Have you met a single individual whose concept of reality was otherwise sound?
No.
Then let's put aside the possibility that Christ was delusional for the moment. The second alternative is that Christ was consciously deceiving his followers for some other purpose.
Power. His followers deified him. He performed magic trick miracles. The strategy was a complete success.
I wouldn't call a strategy ending in crucifixion a complete success.
If he truly died. His reappearance to his disciples after the crucifixion would have been designed to delude them.
After which he changed his name, hung up his shingles as a carpenter, and was never recognized again. Not even by his enemies seeking to discredit him.
I admit it is unlikely.
So, if he was neither a lunatic nor a shepherd, I was forced to consider the only option I was left with. On that afternoon, as I drove to the zoo, I accepted that Jesus Christ was the Son of God.
Regardless of his teachings,
Reducing him to a great teacher is only patronizing.
I do admit Christ was a great teacher. He failed at that as totally, as miserably as he did in divinity. I mean, which of Christ's teachings are even realistic? Love thy neighbor as thyself is a foolish impossibility. Turn the other cheek, should Poland turn the other cheek to Hitler while the German tanks crush their heads? Or should they be like follow Christ's example and martyr themselves since the deep really inheritance of the earth? Of course they will. They'll be buried beneath it. Why do you think a coincidence that Jesus demands that his followers be like children who enter heaven? It is because man has never matured enough to understand that he is alone in the universe and that religion makes the world his nursery. Forgive me. I rule these days rule by my body.
Your lip is bleeding.
This prosthesis doesn't fit properly. Chase my jaw. Honor calls it's a monster. I must clean it and pour that and properly adjust it.
Perhaps your wife will be around soon, then.
No one touches it but I.
Not even the doctors.
Oh, especially not the doctors. Oh, 30 operations and I should learn from such first. There could be recovery the size of a closet. It's another patient, a hydrocephalic cord, this is true. I lay there on my cot. The towel under my chin was soaked through. The bleeding never stopped. I tried to call for help, but my mouth was filled with blood. I was almost drowning. It was the dwarf that saved me. As sick as he was, he rose from his bed and ran for the nurse. I find terrible human that the eminent intellectual saved by his brain damaged dwarf. Now that is a joke. Can there be a better one?
Perhaps not. Though, if it was a joke, who do you think made it?
You might just have made a point. You're first.
Make sure all members of your household have their names and addresses clearly written. So a label on your children's clothing so they cannot pull it off. We will continue to bring you more instructions and news as they become available. Until then, we return to our musical program with the BBC Military Band.
London, 247 Street, please.
It's quite a collection.
Yes, mostly Greek, Roman, and Egyptian artifacts, some as much as 2,000 years old. Here, hello. Maria has Anna finished her lecture. When will she be finished? Would you interrupt her with the message? Oh, please. Thank you.
Your daughter teaches.
Yes, she also has a psychoanalytical practice for children.
You must be very proud.
I am. Anna will do very well. I have fears that by following my footsteps, she might never make a mark of her own. She will. Anna's very dedicated to the science.
And to you, it seems.
Tell me, which of these is your favorite?
I'd say this one here, in front of your desk.
Ah, Eros, the god of love, you are romantic.
And you, Zeus, Athena, Buddha. What do you call a man whose desk is guarded by gods and goddesses?
I collect heavenly, what I admit is I have over 2,000 pieces, most in storage. I cannot visit a museum without seeking this amount. I must have a new object to love.
Objects are safer than people.
And I've always preferred the dead to the living. But if humans intrigue you so, you might be interested in this.
Bandages.
From a mummy still stained with evolving wounds. Egyptians had a remarkable civilization.
Do you know what these markings mean?
I took their spells from the book of the dead that protects his family.
This remarkable civilization believed in an afterlife.
The beliefs completely unlike your dead. The reason rulers were mummified was to protect their hearts as a record of their lives restored.
Their souls, you might say.
If you like, after burial, they were taken by Osiris, god of the afterlife, to the great hall of judgment where the hearts were weighed. A pure heart was nearly weightless, light as a vessel. An impure heart was heavy with evil deeds. They were judged worthy. Their essence rose into the universe to live amongst the stars.
Heaven, in other words.
In your words.
What I find fascinating is that while the Egyptians preserved the heart also, they completely discarded the brain. Isn't that right, Doctor? They basically saw the brain as useless.
You know your Egyptology.
What I'd also like to know is why all of the items on your desk are sacred objects.
My hoping to replace me in my practice. I am merely interested in the ancient belief systems, yours included.
All having a concept of God, right and wrong, good and evil, and a choice between the two of them.
Well, if good is a choice, then your God who created and also created evil, he allowed Lucifer to live and flourish to compete with him, when logically he should have been destroyed.
God gave Lucifer free will, which is the only way that goodness can exist. A world full of choiceless creatures is a world of machines. It's man, not God, not Lucifer, who created slavery, prisons, bombs. Man's suffering is the fault of man.
Ah, is that your excuse for pain and suffering? That did I bring about my own cancer, or is killing me God's revenge?
I don't
You
know.
don't know.
And I don't pretend to. It's the most difficult question of all, isn't it? If God is good, then he would make his creatures perfectly happy, but we're not. So, God lacks goodness, or power, or both.
We're making progress.
I can't justify your pain, but I can't imagine God desires it. On a level we can't grasp, it may be a kind of tool.
For what?
We don't think of God when we're motoring in the countryside, only when we're stuck on the train tracks and see the train coming. If pleasure is his whisper, pain is his megaphone.
Though cancer is God's voice, if I tell you today I believe, my tumor will rejoice when vanished.
Of course not.
No, because the hospitals are filled with believers that God treats no better.
What if God wants to perfect us through suffering, convince us, allow us to know that true happiness, not momentary pleasure, but eternal happiness, can only come through him?
And what are we perfected from? Barbaric ancestors who killed for what they wanted. You heard the radio. Nothing has changed. We carry self-destruction we see in us.
Which is why Christ died for us.
Original sin.
Yes.
Oh, the hubris of it. That mere man could incense a God merely by eating an apple, and then that God would reward them by sending his son to be sacrificed. A vicious murder that really instead.
It has.
I'm sure that Hitler, the little altar boy that stood at church every Sunday, agrees with you, but I cannot. We speak different languages. You believe in revelation, I believe in science and dictatorship of reason. There's no common ground.
There's also the dictatorship of pride. It builds walls and makes common ground impossible. Why is it that religion makes room for science, but science refuses to make room for religion?
How roomy was Galileo said when he told the Pope that the sun did not move around the earth?
The stupidity of church leaders is too easy a target. But look at our scientists. None can agree on what caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, yet I don't experience some anger towards them for not having the answer. So why can't we accept that theologians are not all-knowing as well?
Because they hide behind their ignorance. We cannot comprehend. We are small, he is mighty. My daughter Sophie died in Spanish War 27. A mother, a wife, snatched from our family. Oh, but this was God's plan. But I was smart enough to understand it. My grandson Heinrich died of tuberculosis at age 5. A brilliant plan of God's to kill him. I wish the cancer would attack my brain. Then perhaps I could hallucinate that there is a God and seek vengeance.
How advanced is your cancer?
It is inoperable. It's only a matter of time.
How much time?
Letters for me from this side, Dr. Shaw and I have packed. Before it gets beginning, everyone will sit it gets beginning.
Are you saying you commit suicide?
I'm saying I would kill myself with those consequences. Oh, don't look at me, okay? You don't have to say it. Suicide is wrong and a sin.
Ungrateful.
Then look at my mouth and you will see that hell has arrived already.
Have you spoken to your wife about it?
There's no point. She shares your superstitions. Cigar.
No, thank you. Doesn't smoking aggravate your mouth?
Well, of course it does. But I'm determined to revel in my one sexual pleasure left. I give a bid farewell to my valley in the anal stages and regress to my order.
Extraordinary.
What is?
And we've been talking this long, and this is the first mention of sex.
Your definition is too narrow. I took sexual to any interaction that brings pleasure. The genital contact of baby sucking on its mother's breast, the light of a 4-year-old sitting on her father's knee. Sexuality is the point of all happiness.
There's more to happiness than that. Sex is only one of many God-given pleasures, and not the most lasting.
Extraordinary. Talking about sexual lesson before we brought God into it. Still, despite the constant battle with church propaganda, we have made great progress in overcoming our repressions.
Progress. We've gone from sex being the subject never spoken of to not being able to talk about anything else. It's as if we invented it.
It's the most powerful appetite of all.
But it's grown ridiculous in proportion to its function. Compare it to our appetite for food. The audience at a striptease pays a girl to take off her clothes. But instead, imagine they paid money to see the sight of a naked mutton chop. Wouldn't you say they're taking their meat a bit too seriously?
Sex is more complicated than hunger.
On the contrary, we oversimplify it, turning it into the lie that sex under any circumstances is normal and healthy.
You are an expert on what is normal and healthy.
There's a sexual code that runs throughout the Old and New Testament. Sex is an act that should be shared between two committed parties.
Ah, symbolic. For a moment I thought you were seeking for yourself. The Bible is a bestiary of sexuality. But you selectively quote texts like a priest determined to terrify his congregation. No sex before marriage. Oh, it's not only naive, it's mindless cruelty. Why, it's like sending a young man out for the first time to play concerto with an orchestra, when the only time he's ever played his piccolo is alone in his room.
So you practice free love.
It's not a romantic man.
That's completely hypocritical.
Not at all. It is so. I advocate freedom of sexual choice. There's a big ice and rituals not to take it together and make yourself free.
When you were younger, before you were married,
Martha and I met very early, in love.
and you've remained monogamous ever since.
Are you married?
No.
Do you live with anyone? A woman? A man?
Pardon?
Just homosexuality. Sure, all human beings are intrinsically asexual.
I live with my brother and the mother of a dear friend who died in war.
Why is that?
I promised I would look after her, and he'd do the same for my father if we did not return. And Mrs. Moore and I look after each other, actually.
And your brother, he would have looked after your father.
We were both fighting. We didn't know what our future was.
Seems like Mr. Moore. How long have you been in this
Ford came carefully. She was a great comfort.
Uh-oh, what?
Mrs. Moore was in her early 40s.
Mrs. Moore, his name?
Janie?
Jane. See, Jane, attractive woman you met.
She was the mother of my friend.
Which might make her even more attractive.
I resent your implication, and my personal life is none of your concern.
What your conversion is. You live with her in your days as an aces. Many men who lose their mothers at an early age are drawn to miserable women. Now you still live with her, but you proclaim your sexual abstinence. I want to know if your conversion brought about this newfound virginity.
I will not discuss this further.
As you wish. But I always consider what people tell me less important than what they cannot. Hello? Yes, sir. Yes, I will turn it on, but you must come home immediately. Well, cancel it. I need you here. Good.
Is this you without?
Yes.
Is she married?
No.
I'm surprised. She's an accomplished, attractive woman. Between her colleagues and yours, I'm sure there's no lack of eligible young men.
It's not an easy task for us to choose the right people.
You mean harder to choose.
Of course.
Is she seeing anyone? A man? A woman? Or both, since we're all intrinsically bisexual?
With her teaching and her practice, I have that.
Except for you, it seems. You're very lucky. Especially since she's the only person you permit to touch your mouth.
I is a professional.
A physician.
No, I told you she's a member of the Psychoanalytical Society.
I thought only medical doctors could join.
There are exceptions. Once written paper that was very well received.
It must have been. What was the subject?
Sadomasochistic practices.
Based on her patient's treatments?
Based on her own analysis.
And who was her analyst?
I was. Do you have any more questions?
Yes. But I will not presume to ask them. I will only bring up your previous observation. What a person can say is often less important than what they cannot.
With the destruction of the entire Polish Air Force by the Luftwaffe, military and civilian casualties are already estimated to be over 20,000, a number certain to rise as German bombings continue. King George will address the Commonwealth from Buckingham Palace within the hour. Until then, we return to our musical program.
20,000 in 2 days. It's hard to think.
Yes.
Yet, you want to die.
For me, it has to be a conflict.
But for your family, suicide is a reoccurring death. It forces the survivors to relive eternity, relive their failure to prevent it, leaving them with endless grief.
We should see it as a comfort. My mind is made up. Why, even your violence is not judgmental. Saul fell upon his own sword rather than allow his enemies to kill him.
And Judas killed himself. I after betraying Jesus. Both cowardly acts. God gives life. Only God can take it.
My parents gave me life, that life is mine, not theirs.
Aquinas believed.
I don't care what Aquinas believes. Aquinas condemns suicide and then preaches a death penalty. How can someone do it? See the word in black and white when there are thousands of colors around you.
Have you spoken to Anna about it?
But I'm dying, of course, she knows.
That you plan to kill yourself?
Why would I do that? Would I do it me?
You're protecting her? Or is it that you're concerned that she'll disagree with you and try to talk you out of it?
You are quite vicious. It's a common trait of converts and reformed alcoholics.
You do that every time.
Um,
Turn the music on. You do it every time.
we're waiting for the news.
Why not just turn it down? Why off?
You like music?
Very much so.
Sacred music, no doubt.
Actually, I hate hymns.
Really?
It's like dipping a chocolate bar in sugar. Unbearably cloying. Hymns drive me out of church early every Sunday. I leave after communion and go across the street for a pint. There, I'm perfectly happy to listen to any kind of music. Why aren't you?
Words of art, powerful thing. Music mystifies. Something within me, something rebels against being moved by something that I can't understand why it is. It's like being spoken to in foreign language, and being asked to agree with a statement that you can't comprehend.
The attraction of music is its appeal to emotions, not the brain.
I understand, but
But what you're saying is that unless you understand your emotions intellectually, they don't exist for you. You object to simply being moved.
generally being manipulated. It's all church.
My objection to church music is that it trivializes feelings I already have. I think you're afraid to feel them at all.
Is that your diagnosis?
Not now. Not all. I also say that you're terribly selfish, putting your own pain above the pain of the ones you love. You think that you can control your world, control death like you control your world and your daughter. You think you can outthink your fear by hiding behind your desk, dead gods. When the truth is, you're terrified. I also know that when we heard this,
You know nothing.
I know that when we heard the silence, you didn't act like a man who was satisfied this was his last day on earth. You ran for your gospels.
As did you. Now, what did you believe in at that moment? God or death? Your faith vanished as quickly as your precious joy, because you know that behind all the and underneath all of your self-protective lies, he does not exist.
Where's your joy? Have you found it with anything or anyone? Have you experienced it with anything?
I have found the truth that you cannot accept. That the end is the end. You bury your doubts as deeply as you do your memories of the war, because at your core, you're
I'll call an ambulance.
No, doctors. Cowards, laboratory. Hurry. Take it out. Oh!
Would you like to lie down?
Water.
Do you have anything for the pain?
Pills. Yes.
Asthma? Nothing stronger?
I have to keep my head pretty up. Please go.
No, I'll stay until someone comes.
No.
Don't talk.
You'd like that, would you?
Bombers! Transport planes. Cars. I'll admit, I was a bit frightened.
That's what's happening.
What were we thinking? It was madness to think we could solve the world's greatest mystery in one morning.
Only one thing is great to madness, not to think of it at all. No, I can do this. Hello? Yes, Maria? Thank you. Anna will be here any moment. I will bring my taxi.
There's no need. I think I'll walk to the station. It's mad.
I will see you out.
There's no need. I'm sorry I disappointed you.
Oh, that's what's fine.
I didn't say a thing. I said disappointed. My concept of God is constantly changing. He shatters it time and time again. Yet I feel he's everywhere, throughout the world, hiding, incognito. And this incognito becomes harder and harder to penetrate. The real struggle is to keep trying, to come awake, and to stay.
One of us is a fool. If you are right, you will be able to tell me. If I am right, as some of us will never know. Death is as good as life. Goodbye, Professor. We shall meet again, perhaps.
God willing.
Oh, wait. Do you remember the joke in my book about the pastor, the village atheist?
No.
The village atheist was an insurance agent. So one day he called on the pastor to make a sick call. His family was astonished. He was on his bed. They couldn't believe he had a stranger to speak to the pastor on all week. All that day the two men quarreled because that night until early the next morning at dawn, the weary pastor stumbled from his house. The atheist had died, still the villager had died, still an atheist. But the pastor was fully assured.
That is fun. If only it's really existed.
Humor.
Insurance.
There may be dark days ahead, and war can no longer be confined to the battlefield. But we can only do the light as we see the light, and reverently commit our cause to God. With one and all, we keep resolutely faithful to it, ready for whatever service or sacrifice it may demand. Then, with God's help, we shall prevail. May He bless and keep us all.